Check out this.
I need 4 cups of potatoes.
Gargantua Harbor. We're just going to take a little break right now and talk about why this place is so cool. But yeah, it's a ghost town. And what's interesting about here is that up until the 60s there wasn't a highway up here, so all the access is by water. So everybody got along this way to these little communities and safe harbors, you know, when storms came in, and they've been used for a long time. Even before this was a little ghost village or a place where there was a lighthouse in a harbor. So we're going to check it out. There's an old cabin here. And there's a shipwreck here. Normally you can see it, the boiler of it popping out of the water, but I think this year the water level is a little too high, or it's a little too wavy, we just can't see it. But we're going to talk about it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Stay, Dad, just going down there. You stay. You stay.
Well, here we are, the beautiful Gargantua Harbor. And believe it or not, back in the day, this was a happening place. As early as 1870s, this was known to be a fishing village, but it's much more likely this is used for a long time. Given the nature of Lake Superior, people living along the coast, and the lack of natural shelters for watercraft along this strip of the shore. Starting in the 1870s, they built a lighthouse here, and a gentleman named Louis Miron came here and became the lighthouse keeper for quite some time. After he couldn't do the job anymore, his son picked up the torch, did it for another 40 years, and his son did it up until World War II. So this area was quite a happening place around 1910. There was a lot going on. There was a lighthouse here. There's a little bit of a village here as well around the lighthouse. Trappers, people who lived in the area. So anyways, with the remoteness of the community, there comes danger. You're all on your own. There's only a few people. Some bad things happen like storms. You gotta deal with it yourself. You gotta run by the fly. So in 1913, might be wrong, if I'm wrong, I'll put the date right here. There was a ship here called the Columbus. And the Columbus was a 200-foot wooden steam tugboat that used to come around to all these ports and give people supplies. Now the Columbus was here. People were hanging out. 3 a.m. Sparks started coming off the ship. They ring the alarm. About 13 people here. They tried to put it out, they couldn't. So in order to save the village and the pier, they pushed the Columbus out into the middle of the bay here. So over 100 years ago that happened, and now you can still see the boiler out there. The boiler and the smokestack were sticking up. The water level's a little lower. Sometimes you can see parts of the hull. It's a little choppy today. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to see it, but it's pretty cool. If I can't find it, we'll come back another time with some snorkeling gear and really check it out. So the compass still rests there. It's neat because it's wood, you know, it burnt quick. There's a lot of other wrecks that happen around here too. So as you go further along, we'll show you a little more of the rugged coast, the most natural harbor, and we'll talk a bit about a few more of the wrecks. One's even considered a ghost ship. Wait the spot. Oh, we better get move on though. Yeah, you can see it.
She literally just found this raspberry bush and started eating off it. I think she's part bear.
I think she is too.
She found some raspberries and she got hungry. She knows which ones are good and which ones aren't by sniff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
She's grabbed a couple bad ones and spit them out right away.
Little forager. Hey, Hibbs. Do you like the raspberries?
Yep. Yeah, look at, she's looking, she gets her face right in there and pulls them right off. Yeah, she was hungry, so she found some raspberries.
Hey, puppies. Hi. Hi. Good girl.
As you guys might ask, what happened to the village? What happened to the village of Gargantua Harbor? Well, after this place had been replaced by automatic beacon after World War II, because the lighthouse got washed off the rock out there. But this village isn't here because, well, it's pretty rugged here. A lot of things don't last long if they aren't kept up. People move away. And in the 1970s, the ministry burned down a lot of the buildings here for what I'd like to think are liability reasons. So a lot of the buildings aren't standing anymore. But remnants are. There's some wildflowers here we can tell are from people's gardens. Gooseberries, lots of raspberries. There's some very neat little flowers that I wouldn't find in other places that aren't as established in the park for people living. So yeah, okay. Anyways, now that I answered that, or what happened to it, let's move on. Got some hiking to do. All right, let's go.
Okay. So we've just traversed across the peninsula from the harbor, and we're about to go down this dip here towards the Gargantua River, which, believe it or not, doesn't flow into the Gargantua Harbor, it flows into Warp Bay. And yeah, Warp Bay is a beautiful sand beach that most likely had many people visiting it throughout the generations. I definitely know that the voyagers were here, so yeah, you'll see. If you pass by in a canoe, long trip, you'll get it. Good place to have a 3 fingers full of rum. Some sort of strange bird over there.
Up, up. Up, up. Up, up, up. Up, up.
Yeah, good girl. Up, stay. Easy, easy.
If you could let her go, you can.
Okay.
But come straight to me. Just make it easier for you. Go, girl, come on. Yeah. Here we go.
Hi, puppies.
This way. There's no stairs there, Hibbs. This is pretty nice. I think we're gonna camp here tonight. Hey, Hibbs? Nice campsite, eh?
Yeah.
Wanna camp here tonight?
Sounds good.
Wicked. All right.
Here's our campsite. Got a tarp set up here, picnic table. It's pretty nice. And Brittany got a new tent. North Face Stormbreaker, 3-man. Plenty of room for us and the dog now.
Hibbert doesn't steal my spot. Well, a little bit still, but not as much.
Not as much.
Now she just likes me for my sleeping pad because she's a spoiled little baby.
Yeah, she only has a solid foam pad where we have inflatables and she's a little jealous.
And she's spoiled enough that she even gets a solid foam pad.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy with the setup though. And it's busy here, so we're sharing our campsite, so I'm just going to use our twig stove, put over a piece of tin for a windscreen, and do it that way.
Yeah, we don't need a big fire. We're going to bed early anyway.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Just a little tired. But yeah, it was been a little bit crazy weather today. And it's just a reminder that when you're here, you're kind of at the mercy of the lake. What it decides to do is what it decides to do. And if you go with it and try not to, do things when you shouldn't, it's a lot easier. Nice day, nice beach. Busy place though, busy, busy, busy.
I don't know if you can see it, but Everett sees that bunny just right ahead of her. There's so many of them around here. This is like the 16th one we've seen today.
It's most likely a snowshoe hare.
Well, here we are, Warp Bay. It's a pretty nice place to see. Behind me you can see Devil's Warehouse and Tugboat Channel. It's pretty secluded in here. Just in time for sunset. And this place, as it's nice to live and easy to live in here, easy place to camp, nice and sandy and protected. It's been visited for many, many years. I've been reading a lot about the coast here, and I heard about a trapper named Billy Newman. He lived here in the early 1900s. And he came over from Europe, and he would trap and pretty much lived on his own, kind of like a hermit, and he also made violins. So he'd visit the families around, he'd play violin for them, and they'd feed him, and then eventually some of these families ended up buying the violins off them for their kids. So that's kind of neat. And one year, when he was here, he gathered $3,300 worth of furs, a beaver, an otter, a marten, which today's dollars is, I bet you it's probably close to $100,000. Anyways, Brittany and I are hanging out here, and there's animals everywhere. There's squirrels, rabbits, like all sorts of little critters. So yeah, to my left, we got Pantagruel Bay, which, according to French literature, is the son of Gargantua. So on the other side of this peninsula was Gargantua Bay, and it's a large sheltered cove. And over here, very similar looking cove. I'm assuming it was named that way, possibly by the voyageurs. Because it looked the same, it was a little bit smaller. Pantagruel and Gargantua, those books are written in the 1500s, so I think it kind of gives you an idea that those would have been around when the voyageurs were roaming these areas. If they didn't make up the names, maybe somebody did give the names to them because they thought of the voyageurs. So this is a beautiful spot. Brittany and I have been dodging rain all day. We got here and it just started pouring, so we put up the tarp, we hung out there, and I didn't really want to bring the camera out, and then we got a little break, we set up our tent, and we just finished supper right now. So we're going to enjoy the sunset, maybe have a little twig stove fire, and then probably go to bed pretty early and head on to, I think we're going to go to Devil's Chair, which is a very, very cool place. So anyways, we'll catch up in a little bit. Enjoy the view. Well, good morning. We slept in a little bit, at least for Voyageur standards. It was a lovely night. We stayed up pretty late doing some nighttime photography. How late were you up, you think?
Probably about 12, 12:30.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think we were
At
up.
least for us.
I was up at 6:30 that day, so
Yeah.
yeah. It was a lovely night. No more storms. It's cleared up. It was beautiful weather, so we just finished breaking down the site and having our breakfast and coffee. We're about to head out and head on over to Devil's Chair, and yeah, it's a really cool place. I'm really excited to go there. It's there's some like powerful vibes coming from this place, and it's a pretty important place for a long time. So I'm excited to show you folks. And I've done a little bit of reading about it too, so folks would be interested to learn about it. It kind of has an ominous name, but I'll have to explain that. Probably isn't the proper name for the place, so we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, we're just gonna get our packs on and take one last look at the beach. We might come back here our last day, and then we're gonna head on out. So I'll see you folks in a little bit, and yeah,
Let's have some fun.
let's have some fun. So one last thing I want to talk about before we leave, this is a kind of a plant thing, is this plant I'm holding in my hand right here. It's kind of bizarre looking, eh? Looks like a puffball you find in a field, those little funguses, and something else there. And this is called an earth star, and they seem to be everywhere on this beach, probably because it's a healthier beach than the other ones are more trampled on. So this thing, the back here, is actually the outside of it, and it grows underground. It looks like almost like an acorn growing underground. And then after a couple of years of maturing, it will open up this shell, and it just kind of opens up and shoots it up to the surface. And from there they disperse their spores out of this sac and reproduce that way. And I think they're pretty neat because any sort of plant that uses motion, I think, is neat in my books. Very interesting. And these plants you can find them around the shores of Lake Superior, where the forest transitions to the lake, typically around sandy beaches, so where you find dune grass and other sorts of sedges and those sorts of prairie-like things you see growing near the beaches. You'll find these guys too. Make sure not to trample too much though. That stuff takes a long time to grow. All right, let's get out of here now. All right, sit. Good girl. Stay.
Picnic tables are awesome.
Stay. Oh, you all set? Mm-hmm. I'm all set. Okay. All right, on to the next one.
There we go.
Wild, eh?
Yeah, look at that. That's taller than me.
Huh?
That one right there is taller than me. Right here up close.
Yeah.
Like I'm 5'9". Like that's 6 foot right there.
Look at all the thimbleberry. These little berries here. It's called thimbleberry. It's right here. That one's not ripe yet. Looks like a raspberry. Tastes a little more sour. They're kind of hairy like a peach. I used to them as a kid. I've ate too many, I got a stomach ache, but I think they're okay to have one or two. But you better double check that. They're everywhere.
Everywhere. Is that devil's share out there, Jared?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Right here.
Looks dry. Alright, Hib.
Come on, Hips. Let's, you want to hook up to this tree?
Yeah. I just want to take my pack off. Trying to make it easier.
This way, Hips. Come. Come.
Oh. Right there. We can even put it on the green rope if you want to.
I'd like to.
Yeah, it's in there too. Oh. Yeah, I think my straps are a little too tight.
Yeah, a little sore. Oh, yeah. It happens though. Like, you just
Yeah.
get marks. It's so much weight, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. My shoulders just aren't used to it.
look at that. Take this off, yeah.
There you go. Hey, you wanna go to the water? Go look at the beach. How far can you go? You can go pretty far. You can definitely make it to the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. That was good. You don't have to get her a water bowl this time
No.
for a while.